You know, we pretty well all know in 1983 what was the biggest movie line of the year. It made a sudden impact because it was from the movie Sudden Impact. Go ahead, make my day. Became iconic and put so much money in Clint Eastwood's pocket, people needed to be reminded he was getting the majority of the gross of this movie. So every time you went to see Clint Eastwood in Sudden Impact, or even rented it or bought a DVD, he was getting, cents on the dollar, and in some cases upwards of $2 for each patron. Now, Sudden Impact is an 83 American vigilante action thriller film, sort of a film noir style. It's the fourth in the Dirty Harry series, directed, produced, and starring Clint Eastwood, making the only Dirty Harry film to be directed by Eastwood alone, and co-starred Sandra Locke, his paramour at the time. The film tells the story of a gang rape victim, Locke, who decides to seek revenge on the rapist 10 years after the attack by killing them one by one. Now, Inspector Callahan, famous for his unconventional, awful, brutal crime-fighting tactics, is tasked with tracking down the serial killer. Now, a lot of people said this movie responds to the rise in gun crime in the States and the popularity of these type of, revenge movies like Death Wish and stuff like that. But it plays sometimes like a Japanese kind of dark thriller with a little bit aspects of Scarface and that type of tone. Now, the film is notable for the catchphrase, "Go ahead, make my day," written by, of all people, John Milius of Conan the Barbarian fan, and uttered by Clint's gun-wielding character at the beginning of the film in a shootout as he stares down an armed robber who was holding a hostage. Now, in 1973, in the backplot, artist Jennifer Spencer, played by Locke, and her sister Beth are gang raped. The attack leaves Beth in a catatonic state. 10 years later, in a rage, Spencer seeks revenge and kills George Wilburn, one of the rapists. She then moves to the town of San Paulo, looking for the remaining criminals. Meanwhile, Inspector Callahan is frustrated when a judge yet again dismisses the case due to his lawless methods. At his favorite diner, he foils a robbery, killing 3 criminals in the process. Callahan later causes powerful crime lord Threlkis, played by Michael W. Gazzo of Godfather 2 fame, to suffer a fatal heart attack after threatening him with prosecution in a murder case. Now, unable to fire him because his methods get results, Callahan's superiors instead order him to take a vacation. However, his relaxation is short-lived when 4 of Threlkis' hitmen attack him. Callahan gets to dispatch 3 of them, while a 4th one escapes. Later, the suspect from the dismissed case and his friends throw Molotov cocktails in his car. Tough day for old Callahan. Acting in self-defense, he manages to cause these attackers to crash their car and die. Callahan's supervisor, Lieutenant Donnelly, immediately sends him to San Paulo to investigate the Wilburn murder, and thus the big stir occurs. Now, upon arriving in San Paulo, Callahan chases down a robber. The reckless but successful pursuit draws the anger of the local police. While jogging with his bulldog Meathead, Callahan accidentally runs into Spencer. While being less than thrilled, she feels no anger towards Callahan. Upon returning to his room, a motel, he is targeted by the survivor of the Threlkis hitman, who fails and gets killed by the inspector. Meanwhile, Spencer kills a second rapist, Kruger, at the beach. Callahan recognizes the modus operandi, but local police chief Lester Jennings refuses to work with him. The old trope, "I can't work with you, Callahan, you're too dangerous." Now, Callahan learns that the victims are friends of Jennings' son, Albie. Ray Perkins, a female member of the gang of rapists, figures out that they are being targeted and warns the remaining 2, Tyrone and Mick. At an outdoor cafe, Callahan meets Spencer again. Over drinks, he learns that she shares his emphasis on results over methods when seeking justice, but the inspector adds the caveat till it breaks the law. Callahan reveals that he's investigating Wilburn's murder, which rattles Spencer. Later, he finds Tyrone dead. To be more protected, Mick stays with Parkins at her place. While visiting them for questioning, Callahan is attacked by Mick. After he subdues Mick and takes him to the police station, Spencer arrives and guns down Parkins. Now, Callahan and Spencer meet again and sleep together. On his way out, Callahan notices her car, which he had seen earlier at Parkins' house, and soon finds Parkins' body. Eddie and Carl bail Mick out of jail. Meanwhile, policeman Horace arrives at Callahan's motel to celebrate the easing of tensions in San Francisco. He meets Mick and his henchmen instead, who have been waiting to spring an ambush, and gets killed. Now, Mick's gang then neuter Meathead with a switchblade and beat up Callahan before throwing him into the ocean. Yeah, that dog scene took a lot of negativity from different animal rights, but we'll get that in a second. Now, Spencer arrives at the Jennings home with the intention of killing Albie, who was one of the rapists. To her surprise, Albie, like her sister, is catatonic. A guilty conscience caused him to attempt suicide, which left him with permanent brain damage. Jennings admits that to protect his reputation, his only child, he failed to jail the guilty parties. He convinces Spencer to spare Albie's life and promises that Mick will be punished. Mick and the others, however, arrived and capture Spencer, killing Jennings with her 38. Now, enraged at what Mick's gang has done to Horace and Meathead, Callahan goes after them. The gang brings Spencer to the boardwalk for another rape, but are startled by Callahan's apparent return from the dead. After killing Eddie and Carl, Callahan chases Mick, who absconds with Spencer atop a roller coaster. There, Spencer breaks free and Callahan shoots Mick down. He falls from the top of the coaster, crashing through the structure below, and is impaled by a carousel horse. Now, the police arrive and find Spencer's 38 on Mick. Ballistics, Callahan states, will prove that his gun was used in all the killings. A compassionate Callahan and a vindicated Spencer leave the crime scene together. Not really a Sunset Jimmy Stewart moment, but effective. Now again, stellar, method cast. Very strange. How would you put it all together? Again, Eastwood and Locke. Pat Hingle, of all people, as Chief Lester Jennings. Branford Dillman, very underrated, as Captain Briggs. Paul Drake as Mick. Michael Moore as George Wilbur. Albert Popwell as Horace King. Audrey J. Neenan as Ray Parkins, Jack Tebow as Kruger, Michael Curry as Lieutenant Donnelly, the great Michael Vigazzo as Threlkis, Mark Kalewin as Officer Bennett, Kevin Major Howard as Hawkins, Betty Ford, not the Betty Ford, as Leah, Nancy Parsons as Mrs. Kruger, and Tom Straightley as the Senior. Now, just to recap, directed by Eastwood, screenplay by Joseph Stinson, story by Earl Smith and Charles Pierce, characters based on Harry Julian Fink and R.M. Fink's creations, produced by Eastwood, starring Eastwood, cinematography Bruce Surtees, edited by Joel Cox, music by Lalo Schifrin, distributed of course by Warner Brothers. Christmas movie, what a way to go. December 1983, almost 2 hours. Budget was $22 million with a $150 million worldwide box office, and a lot of that went to Eastwood's pocket. We'll get that in a second. Now, when the screenplay was originally written by Charles Pierce and Earl Smith for a separate film for Locke, it was later adapted into a Dirty Harry film by Joseph Stinson. Filming occurred in spring '83. Many of the film scenes were filmed in San Fran and Santa Cruz, California. The scene where Harry chases a bank robber in the downtown business district offers a rare glimpse of the area before it was devastated by the Lorna Prieta earthquake of October 1789. Footage for the robbery in the Ironcorn Cafe was shot at Burger Island, later McDonald's and outside of a hotel at the corner of 3rd and Townsend in San Francisco. It's also a tourist attraction as well at this point. Now, this time in his career, Eastwood was receiving a salary that included 60% of all film profits, leaving the other 40% for the studio. Estimates had Eastwood earning, get this, $30 million for Sudden Impact. This was well before Nicholson getting big money for Batman, but for $22 million, it mostly Eastwood's cash. Now, this was Locke's last film to have theatrical distribution. Part of her career-long pattern that saw her playing female protagonists much younger than herself. At 39, Locke was older than all the actors playing her rapists, and 21 years older than the youth catcalling her near the start of the movie. Now, they didn't use the Lucille Ball, what they call camera disc. Locke looked every stretch of 39. Compared how she looked at Night Gallery in this, you can tell the beautiful lady, but the age was there. She was also 6 years older than Audrey Neiman, even though the character of Parkins is clearly meant to be older than Spencer. The actress who played Locke's sister was 11 years her junior. Further, Locke was only 7 years younger than the art gallery curator, who calls her unfathomably child during a short scene together. Now, opening weekend, 9.7 million, 1,530 theaters, so not a wide distribution compared to 2022. In total, in the U.S. and Canada, the film made 67,642,693, making it the highest grossing of the 5 films in the Dirty Harry franchise. And the film also surpassed the 63.6 million gross of Thunderball of 65, become the highest grossing 4th installment of a film in the United States and Canada. Worldwide, again, 150 million U.S. Now, Rotten Tomatoes, Film score 57 based on 37 reviews. The consensus reads, sudden impact delivers all the firepower and the most enduring catchphrase fans associate with the Dirty Harry franchise, but it's far from the best film in the series. Now, Vincent Cammie criticized the film, stating the screenplay is ridiculous and Mr. Eastwood's direction of it primitive, which is surprising because he has shown himself capable in such films as The Outlaw Josie Wales and The Gauntlet. Among other things, the movie never gets a firm hold on its continuity. Sometimes scenes of simultaneous action appear to take place weeks or maybe months apart. Roger Ebert, of course, was more positive, a big fan of Eastwood, awarding 3 stars out of 4, while noting that the film was implausible with a cardboard villain. He also praised it as a Dirty Harry movie with only good parts left in and a great audience picture. Now, Variety noted that everything is pitched for Mexican action impact, so audience should feel they're getting the money's worth. But he also thought that the action scenes put too much reliance on characters, particularly Harry, being in the right place at the right time. Well, I mean, that's film noir. Now, Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune gave the film 2 stars and wrote that nothing in Dirty Harry sequels has ever come close to Evil Scorpio in its portrayal of a bad guy. Because of that, they are lesser films. We never feel that Harry is in any real danger. Now, Kevin Thomas of the LA Times slammed the film as the exploitation picture is most nakedly manipulative, which doesn't just exploit sex and violence, but also audience prejudice toward minorities. Now, at this point, Callahan's partner, played by Alfred Popwell, is black, but he's only around briefly. That exploits with sleek cinematic skill, not to mention a great deal of righteousness, makes it all more reprehensible. Said Thomas. A negative view from Pauline Kael, no surprise there. The New Yorker remarked that the film might be mistaken for parody if the sledgehammer slow pacing didn't tell you that director Eastwood wasn't in on the joke. Well, it was a Dirty Harry movie for Dirty Harry fans. So, Pauline Kael, sue him. Now, sudden impact, again, the Dirty Harry catchphrase, go ahead, make my day. Now, it's out of context here because he kills 3, and the black guy is basically cut out of the seconds before the comment. So, in context, it doesn't make any sense. Now, get this. United States President Ronald Reagan used the Make My Day line in a March '85 speech threatening to veto legislation raising taxes. When campaigning for office as the mayor of Carmel by the Sea, Eastwood did use it in '86, as he had bumper stickers entitled, Go Ahead, Make Me Mayor. Now, the film is recognized by the American Film Institute as the number 6 AFI quote of all time. Of the 100 great movie quotes, again, Go Ahead, Make My Day. Not to be confused with Go Ahead, Make Me Gay, which was a parody joke and many tropes back in the day. Now, get this, again. Make My Day is a novelty song recorded by American country music artist T.G. Shepherd, featuring Clint Eastwood. It was released in February '84 as the second single from the album Slow Burn. The song actually reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles and Tracks charts, and Dwayne Blackwell, of course, did the producing. Now, again, this is number 4 in the series. Dirty Harry number 1, Magnum Force, The Indian Force, and of course, the Deadpool in '88, which featured, get this, an appearance by Jim Carrey. Has to be seen to believe. One of the strangest cameos in modern history. Now, I want to get on my high horse for a second. Anybody that went to see Death Wish know they're seeing Death Wish, okay? You go to the Dirty Harry movie, you're going to see a lot of violence, a lot of killing, and he doesn't really care about the system because he is the system. But this movie really spoke to a lot of people in the time of the Reagan era, and there was a lot of violence going on internationally. We're in the midst of the Cold War. This movie could not be released probably in 2022. You notice there with Netflix and all these streaming channels, nobody is taking a chance at Dirty Harry anymore. I wonder why. Now, the only reason why Clint Eastwood got away from Dirty Harry is because, you know, he was getting too old. He did Dirty Harry 39 years ago, and he was, I think it was in his 50s when he did the last Clint Eastwood, the Dirty Harry movie. But of what it is, it's the most important, what he call pulp, film noir, kind of Lee Marvin meets John Cassavetes style movie series of all time. And back in the day, anything that Clint Eastwood had his name on was going to make money. Some of it was kind of misguided because of Sandra Locke. But if you want to really know about the Sandra Locke-Clint Eastwood relationship, there's been various books and publications been talking about the weird relationship they had. I think Sandra Locke was a very, very interesting director and actress, but she was riding on Clint's coattails. And, you know, it was well known that he would use these, you know, women in his life for different stuff. You look at Unforgiven and stuff like that. Anyway, but this movie, I give it 3 out of 4, not because it's a good movie, because it's culturally significant, because of an era. 1983 for a lot of people was one of the greatest movie years of the last 50 years, and the movies are there. But if you went to it was a Christmas movie, all thing. It was not a summer movie. It was a Christmas movie. So you go to the typical Christmas movie. There's what's it's like it's the weirdest thing, and they made tons of money. Go figure. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, a big fan of the Eastwood. If you like what we're doing here, we're a vintage movie podcast. It's part of Screenshots. Let us know what you think. We'll like, comment, or subscribe. And if you're a Clint Eastwood fan, just remember, you're only good as your last bullet. And he always had extra bullets in the gun or to put in the gun, you know. But you got everything in this movie. You had the big line, you had the denouement, and you had the film noir kind of thrown down your throat style. Like I said, 3 stars out of 4. Thanks for listening. Bye.